Well, good evening. This is the first meeting of the Alief ISD 2021 Bond Steering Committee. I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces on my screen. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Craig Eichhorn. You've gotten some emails from me, some calendar invites from me. I'm going to serve as kind of the conduit for this process as we go through it for the next few months, however long it takes. Let me start by thanking each and every one of you for taking time tonight to join us for this informational meeting. I realize there's a lot going on this time of year, and we appreciate you giving up your time to join us and learn more about Alief ISD. And I'll also ask that the link you received to this meeting, as a reminder, you were chosen by our administrators and our board of trustees to join this committee. So please don't share this link with just anybody. If specific targets of people to join this committee. So we thank you and remind you to not share the link with just anybody. And also, we'll get to this a little bit more in a minute. There's a chat box. If you go down below everybody's pictures, we will be asking for questions through the chat box this entire time, since this is a little bit different format for us for a bond steering committee. So there'll be more about that later, but I wanted to introduce myself. You all have my email on my cell phone. If you have any questions, not just tonight, but as we proceed through the months down this, don't hesitate to reach out and get a hold of me. If I can't get you the right answer, I'll find somebody who can. On the call tonight, there's a couple of several very important people, but I'll start with our committee chair, Mr. Ed Ryland. I believe Ed is on. Ed, if you're on, can you please say hello?
Hello, everybody. Good to be here. Good to see everybody here tonight.
Thank you, Ed. You're going to be hearing a lot from Ed later on this meeting. And as we proceed through this, Hilda Rodriguez is the district chair. I know she's on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Our fearless leader, our superintendent, Mr. H.D. Chambers, is on. I saw him earlier. Mr. Chambers, do you have a few words for this group?
Yeah, sure I do, Craig. I've always got a few words. So obviously, on behalf of the entire Alief Independent School District School Board and every, the 43,000 students that we have and the over 6,000 employees that work in our school district every day to educate your children, my children, our community's children. I am extremely grateful for you taking the time to join us in this little endeavor. I've been, excuse me, I've been a superintendent for 16 years, going on 10 years here in Alief, and I've gone through a lot of bond steering committee processes. I've never gone through one virtually, and I am curious as to see how it flows and how it works. I will tell you that Craig and Hilda and Mr. Ryland and our entire team are going to work as hard as we can to make this a meaningful experience for everyone, so that you feel like your voice is heard and you feel like that your opinions are heard and matter. And at the end of the process, we'll have a referendum that you can be proud of, and that our school system can be proud of, but more importantly, that our students and our staff can benefit from. So we'll talk more about the details, and you're going to hear a lot of, let me say this, you're going to hear a lot of information tonight. You're going to hear a lot of data. In some cases, it's going to be like drinking water from a fire hose. There's going to be a lot of things thrown at you, but it's all intended to set the context for the work that's going to begin for the next 4, 5, 6 months, however long it takes, as Craig mentioned. But the reason you're here, we always want a good cross section of our community. We want community members that are engaged. We want community members that support us, but we also want community members that question us. There's no desire in this entire process to have no disagreements. We think there's going to be disagreements. We think there's going to be opportunities to debate issues over the period of time we're together. So everyone that's on this committee has been nominated or has been asked or has volunteered based on their ability to have these kind of meaningful conversations, these meaningful discussions. And if you read the purpose of the committee, it's obviously to work collaboratively together. Our job ultimately is going to be to prioritize the needs for capital improvement projects. We're going to define what a bond is. Many of you are aware of it. Some of you don't know what a bond is or don't know how it works in public schools. We're going to talk about finances, obviously, because most of you, not all of you, but a lot of you live in Alief. You pay a tremendous amount of money in property taxes to our school district. I know that. Our board knows that. And so we cannot have this conversation in isolation without also considering the financial impact, but that'll be a part of the discussion. Our administration, people like Ms. Rodriguez and Mr. Eichhorn, and you'll, for those that don't know, you'll meet Mr. Woods and other members of our leadership team. Our role here is to obviously provide input and to provide guidance if you need it. But we're here as a support and to answer questions that come up as we work through the process. So the ultimate purpose is for everyone on this committee to think, to talk, to deliberate, and ultimately come up with something, again, as I mentioned earlier, that we can be proud of. What's the charge? In other words, what are we asking you to do? What's our school board? What are we asking you to do? We're going to inform you of the needs that we have identified. We're going to talk about goals. We're going to help, again, design a referendum that without question, is going to be supportive of our objectives, our priorities, and it meets the needs of our students and our staff. And then last, but certainly not least, something that can be supported by the community. So the reason we're here, the reason you're here, the reason we're going to ask respectfully for your attention and your time is for those two reasons right there. This district, and we'll talk about this later, but I'll just tell you, we went through this process in 2014, 2015 for a bond election that took place in May of 2015. And it was very successful. And it was successful for a reason. It didn't happen by accident. And a large part of the reason it was successful was the process in which the bond steering committee went and was able to basically come to consensus on what needs to be in the referendum. And then after that, they went out and championed it in the community as it led up to the bond election. So my expectations are no different this time than it was last time. The 2000 bond was set to last 6 years. It was set to identify our needs for the next 6 years. I'm not a math major, but 2015, 6 years later, it's 2021. And so that's kind of why we're here. We're at the end of that cycle of bonds that were identified and approved in 2015. We are now identifying the needs, and we will talk about how long this one will be as we go through the process. Our school board will have a lot to say about that. The committee will have a lot to say about that. And then, but that's kind of the history and how we've gotten here and why are we choosing right now to do this. It's because we're at a point now where this district, in order to continue maintaining our capital assets, i.e. our facilities, we have to identify the money and the resources in which we're going to use for that. So more to come on that. I just want to reintroduce our committee chair and our district chair. So Mr. Ed Ryland is a community member, a longtime community member, and graciously accepted the role as co-chair to represent the community, to represent the taxpayers in this district. He'll introduce himself in a little bit, but I'm grateful and extremely honored that he chose to accept our invitation to serve as a co-chair. Ms. Hilda Rodriguez is the district co-chair. They will work side by side. Many of you remember Ms. Rodriguez, longtime principal of Elsik High School, is currently our assistant superintendent for support services, and does a tremendous job of organizing and just kind of moving a group in the direction that we all want. So I'm extremely excited about Mr. Ryland and Ms. Rodriguez leading our serving as our chairs. And in just a little bit, not this second, but in a little bit, I will introduce a lady that y'all will get to know really well. And it's someone that we brought in 2014, 15, and we're bringing in again to facilitate this group. And someone that I'll introduce in just a little bit. So with that, Craig, I don't know if Ms. Williams has signed in or not. But
No, sir, she has not.
okay, well, Ms. Williams wanted to bring greetings from the board. I know we have one board member on, Ms. Natasha Butler.
Correct.
Is observing, and I will tell you this, our trustees are not a part of this committee. Our trustees are not quote unquote voting members of this committee. You are the voting members. I am not a voting member. Our staff, unless we have staff members that are serving on the bond committee, and you'll learn more about that. We're going to have some staff members serving on the committee, and then we're going to have some staff members that are here just to support you, just to answer questions. But I want to be really clear to the committee members, particularly community members and parents and others, that the school board is the ultimate entity that calls the election. They will take your recommendation at the end of this process as the recommendation for what they would call. But I just want you to know, if you see board members, or if a board member is in a meeting, they are more than welcome to just to join and just watch and listen and kind of hear what's going on, and so that they're better informed as we go through the process. We will communicate with the board after every meeting. We'll have debriefing meetings as an administration and provide them an update as to what took place the evening or the night before. But I just want you to be aware of the board's role in this committee process is simply to observe. That's it. I've asked them to kind of just, if they want to, they can. If they don't, they don't have to. So it's totally up to them. So anyway, as soon as Ms. Williams does her log on, I'll let her bring greetings from the board. All right. Mr. Ryland, I'd like to just introduce you just a second ago, but if you would tell the group a little bit about yourself, and we'll move from there. So Ed, again, thank you very much on behalf of all of us. Thank you for taking this role. Many of you that served on the last committee remember Mr. Don Hoyt. Don served as the co-chair in 2014 and 15, and he and Mr. Ryland have had a chance to visit, and Don told him where all the bodies were buried and all the Anyway, thank you, Ed. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, let me join Superintendent Chambers and Craig and thanking all of you for taking time out of your very, very, very busy day. We know that you have things to do, and so we appreciate you taking time out of your day to participate in this committee. You know, the fact is that the future of this district and this community depends on your involvement. When I was first asked to co-chair the committee, my first question was, why would I want to do that? And then after some deep thought and talking with Superintendent Chambers and others, it turned from why I really should do it. And so I want to just give you just brief background on myself. I am president of Arvo Realty Advisors. We are a commercial real estate organization here in Houston. But more importantly, I've lived in the Alief district for over 35 years. My children graduated from elementary and middle school and high school through the Alief district process. And now my grandchild is a student within the Alief district. And I know from experience and from my career that when families and individuals are looking for a community to relocate to or to move into, one of the major things they focus on is the quality of the school district. Additionally, when employers and companies are looking for personnel and looking to hire people, they look to those school districts that are the strongest in the country and also in the city. So we must ensure that our school district and our students have the necessary facilities and resources they need to be the best in the country. And so I'm excited about being a part of this process. I look forward to working with each of you. And, you know, by the way, I keep telling folks all the time that these students will be the people that will be taking care of you and I. So I want to make sure that they have the best chance to do the best job that they can for us in the future. Thank you, and I look forward to having more conversation with each of you a little later on.
Thank you, Ed. And I hope everyone just can hear the optimism and the belief in the Alief ISD and Ed's voice. I again really appreciate him stepping up. I'd like to introduce someone that some of you know and some of you don't know, but those of you that went through the 2014-15 process may remember Miss Michelle Hughes. Excuse me. Michelle is kind of a well, not kind of. She'll facilitate the meeting, but she's someone who does this quite often. And her role, as she will explain to you, is to simply allow us to be our best, allow this committee to do the best work we can, and come up with something that is meaningful for everyone. So, Michelle, welcome back. Grateful for you to be able to help join and facilitate our group again as you did 6 years ago. So I'd like to introduce everyone to Miss Michelle Hughes.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. I wanted to greet my Alief friends. Since having been there when we worked together before, I don't take for granted the fact that you've asked me to come back. And that's a trust that I will give you my best work and do everything I can to honor that trust. As Mr. Chambers said, my role with you is a facilitative role. I have absolutely no stake in the content of the bond that you put together, other than the fact that I love to see education supported and kids and facilities at their best. But I don't have any stake in the projects or the amount of the bond, but I have a tremendous stake in the process that we use. And so I will pledge to you that I will keep everything running as smoothly as we can. I'll make sure that everyone gets to share, that wants to share, that all the opinions are heard and given equal voice, and that we are respectful and kind to one another. And that was never a problem in Alief when I was there before. So I look forward to working with you. And I thank Mr. Chambers, I thank the Board of Trustees, and I thank you as community members for this incredible trust. And I will do everything I can not to let you down.
Thank you, Michelle. I will tell you, she sounds nice right now, but wait till she puts you to work. She's gonna put you to work. So, but in all seriousness, one of the things that Michelle said after her experience with us last time was she doesn't know that she's ever worked in a community where the community members of this committee were as polite, respectful, professional, and just treated everyone with integrity. And it goes without saying that's what Alief is. That's who Alief is. That's why it's such a special place, and that's why I've chosen to make this my career home for the last 10 years. And so anyway, really look forward to it. We've got 80 participants, or 79. It was at 80, not 79. That's a lot of folks. That's a lot of people. That does it. Now it's 80. Now that's a testament to the belief in our system. So thank you. I'm going to shut up for a while. Matter of fact, if you hear from me again, and you probably shouldn't hear from me again this evening, but I'm going to turn this back over to Mr. Eichhorn, and we'll get into the work. But thank you very much for everyone being here.
Thank you, Mr. Chambers. As he said, our count is up to 80. And now I'm going to give each and every one of you, yes, all 80, a chance to quickly introduce yourself. Again, I wish we could get your entire life story, where you went to college, high school, and all that, but we don't have time tonight. That will all come throughout this process. And Michelle can tell you back in 14, 15, I think we had just started using those little Fitbits. And during the face-to-face meetings in the boardroom, I wore mine out. I got so many steps in that boardroom, running from table to table, answering questions, dropping off packets and things like that. Am I right, Michelle? Anyway,
But I
let's
have to
start.
remind you, Mr. Acorn, there's no whining in bond planning.
Oh, there's not. So I'm saying I need to get more steps. Is what I'm saying. And Kim Smith is agreeing with you. So Lynette Miller, I see you first on my screen. Just take a few seconds, introduce yourself quickly, who you are, what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lynette Miller. I'm the coordinating principal for Hastings High School. I've been in the district for over 20 years, and I agree with everybody that it is a family and a wonderful place to work.
Thank you. And if I mispronounce your name, I apologize, but I'm going to go to Karen Loper now. I know her name. Karen, you're still muted.
Me?
Karen Loper, you were muted.
Yes, I fixed it.
Okay, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, I'm Karen Loper. I've lived here for over 40 years in Alief. I served on the bond committee last time, and I'm really proud of what we did and what has changed in the district. So I'm glad to be back.
Okay, and I'm sorry about this name, Karan Yonas.
Yes, my name is Kiran Yunus. I'm from Pakistan. I've been here since 2015. My daughter studies at in Boone Elementary, so I'm a parent.
Thank you. Christopher Bent, is it Chris or Christopher, sir?
Either one is fine. Chris Bent, I am an architect with Ziegler Cooper Architects. Over the last 7 or 8 years, I've worked on in many school districts, helping them out with their bond projects. I also serve on the West Houston Chamber of Commerce with D. Jones from Alief, and that's how I got involved with Alief on the Business and Education Committee. And last year, I invited a group from the Alief, one of the Alief high schools, to enter the construction competition, which they won the first time. So I'm looking forward to continuing to work with the Alief ISD team.
Well, thank you and welcome to this group. Mr. Frank Herrera.
Hello, everyone. Frank Herrera. I work for the Tech Services Department and manager for the campus support team. I've been in Alief for 20 plus years.
Thank you. Long time trustee here in Alief, Sarah Winkler.
Well, I unmuted myself. I don't see myself, but hopefully it's working. I have lived in Alief for close to 40 years, and my 5 sons all graduated from Alief. I was on the board for more than 20 years. Long-time volunteer, which of course I kind of miss that right now, but that's my involvement in the district.
Good friend of Alief from the West Chase District, Mr. Dave Gilkison.
Hi, Craig and the committee. I'm a retread from 1415. I work for the West Chase District. Dave Gilkison. Glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Aaron Burgess.
Hello, my name is Aaron Burgess. I'm new to the committee. I'm a lifelong Alief resident and Alief ISD product, and I'm just happy to be on the committee.
We're glad you're here. Tim Lucky.
Good evening. I guess I can quote Aaron, same thing, born and raised in Alief, still an Alief resident. I'm a demand and supply planner for BASF. I'm glad to be here.
Patricia Cantu.
Good evening. I'm Patricia Cantu. I have been in the district for 10 years now. I'm the Director of Second Language Education, supporting almost 20,000 English language learners. There are bilingual, dual language ESL programs. I also have 2 sons participating in dual language in the Alief ISD district. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I believe she was on our 14-15 group 2, Ms. Ani Kalustian.
Hi, yes, I was part of the 2014 and 15 bond. I've lived in Alief for 34 years. I have 2 children that go to Alief schools, one at Kerr and one at Albright, and I'm happy to serve here again.
We're glad you're here. Miss Edna Kingsley.
Hi, Edna Kingsley. I am a proud parent of an Alief graduate and just happy to be a part of the steering committee.
Okay, Marva Watson.
I got it. Good evening. My name is Marva Watson. I'm a retired teacher of 25 years in the Alief district. I am a resident of Alief. I have two daughters who are graduates of Hastings High School, and they both work for the district now.
Great, thank you. Rima Adil.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rima Adil. I'm a Dean of Students at Houston Community College. We have a campus right there in Alief community, and we are hand in hand when it comes to any community projects. Alief ISD is one of our strongest partners, and we have the largest number of students that we transfer to the Houston Community College. So glad to be here. Looking forward to working with you all.
We're glad you're here. I'm going to say your name wrong, ma'am. I'm just going to say your last name, Miss Urtez. Sorry.
Hi, no, it's fine. My name is Ana Yansin Urtes. I'm from Mexico, and I've been here like 23 years already in Alief. I just landed here and stay here. I went to LSIC for like 2 years when I was young. I didn't graduate, unfortunately. And I have two kids, a son and a daughter. They're going to Miller and Hicks Elementary. And I'm just, here for whatever it's the help that you need from me. They basically invited me, so I'm here. I'm gonna learn as much as I can from you guys and just try to help the community.
Well, thank you for your time this evening, and we look forward to working with you as we get down this process. In the essence of time tonight, I am going to skip a lot of Alief ISD employees. You'll get to know us as we proceed through this. But I see another veteran from last time with us, Mr. Mike Kreinson.
See you. I don't know if you see me. Can you see me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you and see you.
Okay, well, that's good. Yeah, I had some technical problems. I moved to Alief in June of '81, so coming up on my 40th anniversary. Been involved in a number of projects with the school district over the years, and look forward to helping again.
We're glad you're with us. Let's see. I see Soren Valverde.
Hey, Craig, how are you? Hello, everyone else. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the bond committee. I'll help however I can. I'm born and raised in Alief and also have a family business in Alief. So just happy to be here. Thank you.
Glad you're here. And Kevin Cabetta.
No. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kevin Cabetta. I'm a president and CEO of Heads Up Houston, a community development organization. I'm very happy to be a part of the committee. Thank you.
All right. Steve Alloway.
Good evening. My name is Steve Alloway. I'm with Huckabee Architects, and I'll be serving again a role as a technical advisor on the bond as we go along. I'm not a voting member of the committee, but I'm certainly glad, and like Michelle, we got to work together on the previous bond, and just honored to be here and know that it's going to be a lot of work, and we are up for the task, and we're going to bring it to the committee each and every day. So thank you for having us along again.
Thank you and welcome. Charles Hudson.
Yes, hello. I actually go by Chuck. I'm retired Army with 20 years. I'm also on the Houston Metro Go Texan Alief Southwest Committee. We raise money for the students that we're working for tonight.
Well, thank you, sir. First of all, thank you for your service and welcome to this committee. Barbara Quattro, you may see her name all around town. Barbara?
Hi, I was on the last bond committee. I'm currently chair of the Alief Super Neighborhood. The Super Neighborhood was instrumental in getting Alief a new multi-service center, $58 million worth that's currently being constructed. And I've been an Alief resident since 1979.
Welcome, Barbara. Another longtime board member who is now serving on the HCC board and also serves on the Alief ISD Education Foundation board with me, Mr. John Hanson. John, are you there?
Trying to. Am I not coming through?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, John, go ahead, sir.
Coming through now.
It's still kind of jumbled.
Okay. Yeah, the signal's not great today. Sorry about that. Yes, as Craig indicated, I've lived in Alief 40 plus years now. I served 20 years on the Alief ISD Board of Trustees. Currently chair of the Board of Trustees of the Houston Community College. And last time we had a bond committee, I was sitting on the other side on that Alief Board of Trustees. So I guess this is a new experience being on the community side. But thanks to everyone for their willingness to participate in this process. And I'll do my best to make a useful contribution.
Thank you, John, and good to see you again. Miss Jody Estimbo. Can you hear me? Jody Estimbo. Okay, let's try Natalie Hudson.
Hi, my name is Natalie Hudson, and I'm currently doing communication and design for a renewable energy marketing group. I'm also on the Houston Metro Go Texan committee with my father, Chuck Hudson, and we raise money for children in the Houston ISD.
Fantastic. Another one of our partners in education, the one, the only, Mr. Zachary Hodges.
Hey there, Zach Hodges, president of our West Side campuses of Houston Community College, and we love our partnership with Alief ISD, and we'll go to any length to strengthen that relationship. You know, great school district, and love being on the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to see you, Dr. Hodges. Well, let's try Miss Estimbo once again, Jody Estimbo. I guess we're having technical issues. Did I leave off? Go ahead.
She said she's on the phone and
Okay.
unable to introduce herself.
Okay. Well, there'll be plenty of time in future meetings for that. Did I leave out any community members? I'm not hearing any. So thank you for introducing yourself. Again, you'll get to know all of us from Alief ISD. You're going to get a lot of me, probably more than me than you ever wanted to get as we move through this process. So thank you for introducing yourself. So Hilda. I'm sorry, I just got a note. We have an Alief Taylor graduate who also owns a business in the area. Mr. Chris Hardiman is on.
How you doing, everyone? Like Craig said, my name is Chris Hardiman. I graduated from Ailey Taylor High School. I'm the general manager / operator. Just opened up the new Fitness Connection off of Highway 6. I do a lot in the community just to kind of help, everyone out, elementary through high school. Just an honor to be able to serve on this committee and just give my input. Also learn a lot from you guys that's been here for a while. So just truly thankful. I love Alief, to death. So this is a wonderful opportunity for me, and this one opportunity for me to continue to learn about this district as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for the reminder, sir. So the next time we're at the gym together, he's going to make me work extra harder. So this, again, we said this at the very beginning, this is a very different way for us to hold these bond committee meetings. You've already noticed that the mute button could be your best friend. When there's 80 people on this call, we ask that you keep yourself muted until we call you to speak, or if you have a question. The chat box will be your other best friend. We will be monitoring the chat box all the time. You have any questions? Hey, Craig. Hey, Deanna. Hey, Charles. There's some chatter going on now. Some people introducing themselves. Elizabeth Bellows Powell, Wally Rakestraw, Pam Lowe, our brilliant director of digital learning. So feel free. We want to encourage the exchange of ideas. It'll just be different now with virtual versus in person. So we still ask that we respect each other's ideas. So be respectful. Because in this format, you cannot understand multiple conversations at one time. We talked about using the chat feature to type in your questions. We will answer and read your questions, and we'll also save all the questions too. And if some need to be brought up at a future meeting, we may do so there too. Michelle will, at some point in time, assign times to certain discussion topics. We ask that you honor those times. When she says 20 minutes for a topic, we really mean 20 minutes for a topic. And Michelle will keep us on topic and on task. This is a point for multiple ideas. There are no bad ideas at this point. Don't shoot down others' ideas just because you may not agree with them at the very beginning. This is a time to listen and see what sticks. We all come from different backgrounds and have different areas of expertise. This is not the time for our own personal agendas. This is the time to come together as a group and do what's best for this plan for the future of Alief ISD. So think big picture, think holistically. We ask you to be kind and honest with each other and respect each other. We are going to try to get consensus on all things that we bring up. That means we will have some discussion. We will break off into smaller groups at some point in time. But again, the highlight from this, use your mute button, use the chat feature. Let us know if you don't understand something, if you need more information about a particular topic, if you need a question answered. Thank you. And any questions on that so far, you may put it in the chat box and we can answer as we go. No questions? And I just gave Hilda Rodriguez control of the meeting again. She's going to go over a brief history of our school district.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome tonight. I want to thank everyone for being here and being a part and participating in our Alief 2021 Bond Steering Committee. So I know that it takes a lot of time and commitment, so I want to thank you for that. Like Craig said, we have a lot of work to do, and we're gonna get the work done, and also we're gonna have fun as we do it. So I am hosting the meeting, so I'm also kind of looking at people who come in and out of the meeting. So I'm going to be trying to manage people doing that, and also looking at the chat. So I kind of put myself off screen so I can kind of manage to do a lot of that. So, but I will be presenting tonight, this evening, along with Charles Wood, Deputy Superintendent of Business, and Deanna Wentz, Assistant Superintendent of Finance, and with our community co-chair, Ed Ryland. So we're going to go ahead and get started. You know, I think that I believe that the following quote, I saw this quote and I really think it's important, and I do believe it's by an unknown person. It says, you know, our past determines our present, and our present is what shapes our future. So let's take a look at our Alief's past, and let's see how it has impacted our present. And then through this committee, we'll work on the present, and we will impact the future with the work that we do. So I thought it's interesting that as you read about the history of any community, you know, I've worked in Alief for 31 years. And so, you know, I knew a lot about the history of Alief, but I've never really researched it. So Alief's earliest settlers landed here back in 1861 through 1917. And there's about 30 families that settled in this area, which was a floodplain prairie, and it was known as Derry. Located about 15 miles southwest of Houston, along Brays Bayou. And mostly the settlers farmed for rice and cotton and dairy. And as you can see in some of these pictures, you will notice prominent names of the community, like the Cook family, Boone family, Hastings, the Leesman family. Many of these prominent names, of course, becoming namesakes of our campuses and in the community. And it's interesting, though, in 1894, you know, Dr. John McGee and his wife Alief settled in Derry. And in 1896, the post office was named after Alief McGee. And then later, this post office, or this community, became Alief. In 1906, Derry School District was formed, and Nancy Lloyd, the first female woman, became elected to the board. And then in 1917, Derry School District was renamed Alief School District. And more into present times, in 1964, Alief Elementary School was built and later renamed Ewens Elementary. So I just think that a lot of this history kind of lets us know where we came from, about the school district, and get a better understanding and context of where we're from. So from rice and dairy farms to a bustling and diverse urban district, Alief today covers about 36.6 square miles of land in Southwest Houston, and some parts of unincorporated Harris County. This map is a great resource. You can find it on our district webpage, and it lists pretty much all of our schools and the location of the schools in Alief ISD. Another great resource is this slide map is of our attendance zone. It kind of spells out or highlights the boundaries of the entire district. And it's an attendance zone for our elementary schools. And of course, attendance zones are outlined, or maps are outlines that show where students attend schools within the district. And you can clearly see that, Westheimer, it borders, is our northern border, basically, and the Fort Bend County line borders along the south and the southwest part of the district. And then you can see that South Gessner kind of edges its way around the eastern side of the district as well. Then looking at the map, you can see here Chancellor and Sneed, and at last time the elementary zone maps were changed back in 2015, where this little area of green, I'm not sure if you can see if my pointer is on it, but this little area right below south of Sneed was actually zoned over to Chancellor due to a population increase of refugees kind of overflowing Sneed, and we made that move to Chancellor. Just some more, important maps of the district if you're interested. All this is on the website, just kind of outlining our intermediate and middle schools. Taking a further look at who we are, we can take just a quick look or glance at some demographic data points. This is data provided by our TAPER, or Texas Academic Performance Report. This kind of compares some data to the state. You see our economically disadvantaged data, 83.4% compared to the state at 60.2. Our LEP population, 45.9% compared to the state at 20.3. Teacher staff makeup is 50.4% of our staff compared to the state. And our teacher average experience is 8.2 to 7.2. And our teacher turnover rates 4.4 to 8.6. 4-year longitudinal graduation rate, 90.2 to 90.0 compared to the state. Another quick look at some data is our enrollment. And basically this chart shows that there's that our enrollment stabilizes after we have some decades of fast growth. So you can see as you follow the line, you can see from 71 to 72, all the way to 06, 07, you see 05, 06, you see a great increase in our enrollment. And then in 06, 07, when Hurricane Katrina and Rita hit, you see that increase there, and then a decline, and then it kind of stables out. There's some stabilization out, and then toward the end, in the last few years, you'll see some decrease in our enrollment, along with, this is all pre-COVID. So, of course, with COVID and the decrease in enrollment there. Just kind of want to share, some district, facilities. Back in 1906, Alief, back at the time, Dairy ISD, had a 3-story building to house all students. Well, today, we're a bit different. So we have 24 elementary schools, 6 intermediate schools, 6 middle schools, 5 high schools, 2 alternative educational programs, a beautiful Center for Advanced Careers, a district-wide athletic stadium, 1 natatorium. We have several support sites in the district as well, including our newly built Center for Talent Development. We do have 74 portable buildings on site at various campuses and around the district as support buildings as well. And we are eagerly awaiting the opening of our pre-K centers, construction to begin very soon within the next month or two for Pre-K Center 1 and Pre-K Center 2, which are a part of the 2015 bond referendum. You can also take a look at some enrollment projections. prior to COVID. You know, the goal of assessing enrollment projections and building capacity is to ensure that the numbers of available seats in schools, they closely kind of match each other, prevent from overcrowding. And then this chart, especially, you can notice that at our peak, at 14, 15, enrollment peaked, still having some capacity overall in the district for elementary schools. And then we begin, you know, to see more of a stabilization of that enrollment and then a decline. But even as enrollment stabilizes, we analyze capacity of our buildings to determine maybe where to house certain programs, such as bilingual programs, you know, gifted and talented programs, or even more recently using these numbers to help us define schools to house our full day and pre-K pilot programs, as we did in the last 2 years. Just another look at our intermediate enrollment and capacity numbers. Pretty much, you know, staying the same when you look at the totals of this of these numbers. And you know, trends will continue from the elementary on into the higher levels. And those trends, if we don't, you know, start to get more enrollment in the higher levels, and you will see the trend moving into the upper layer levels of decreased enrollment. And just a look at enrollment at the middle and high school, which is pretty much stabilized. You don't see too much of a difference in enrollment changes at the middle school level, or in the high school level. You see an increase of enrollment. Students either enroll or come back or return to our high schools. So in 1964, Alief Elementary was built and later named Ewens. That makes Ewens around 56 or 57 years of age. It's our oldest building. And Boone and Martin Elementary is also in that age range of over 50 years old. So just kind of want us to look at the ages of our buildings in the committee. Even though our maintenance department has done an excellent job at facility management and implementing capital improvement projects, you know, the lifespan of a building just depends on several factors. Could depend on the year that it was built, how it was constructed, and how well maintained it is. You know, I guess at some point, some buildings can remain operational for decades. When you look at what's the lifespan of a building, you'll see different ranges from 40 to 50 years, from 60 to 70 years, and there's even some reports that buildings can last from 75 to 100 years, and it all depends on several factors that are involved. I guess at some point, committees such as ourselves have to decide and continue, you know, do we continue to use bond funds and make these capital improvements to our older buildings? Or, you know, is there a point where it might be better to construct new buildings? Take a look also at our intermediate schools, which are more recent construction, relatively speaking. And also our middle schools range from 27 to 52 years, with Alief, of course, middle school being 52, and Ali approaching 50 years. Our high schools range from 2 years to 47 years. Of course, our Alief Center for Advanced Careers is only 2 years old. Very proud of that building. Another exceptional construction project that came out of the 2015 bond referendum. But Hastings is our oldest high school. at this time, I haven't really looked at the chat, but if at this time we're going to pass it on to Charles Woods to kind of talk about just what are bonds and basic like 101 on bonds and how they work.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Anybody give me a hand? Okay, great. Appreciate the opportunity to just, and if you already know what bonds are and how they work and all, just take a quick nap. Hopefully I'll be through this quickly, but I want to put it in terms that make it less confusing about the terminology. But you can think of bonds as a way for school districts or mostly government entities to borrow money in order to make capital improvements. And in a school district's case, we have to follow a certain set of laws that allow us to borrow that money and pay it back over time, similar to a mortgage on building a house. If you don't have enough cash to build it outright from the cash reserves you have to borrow money to do it. And that's the mechanism or the vehicle that the state of Texas utilizes in school districts. And so if you think of a bond referendum, the thing we're participating in is a way to sell bonds in order to borrow money. The bond is actually a certificate, it's a piece of paper, and it's backed by a banking institution who purchases that bond. Then that bond is then backed by the school district to repay the loan at a certain interest rate over a certain period of time, and has a guaranteed return on the investment. And the guarantee comes twofold. One is from the school district's ability to tax the taxpayers, to levy a tax, collect taxes, and also from the state backing a portion of those funds that are used to pay it back, and a level of guarantee called a bond rating. And in the state of Texas, our bonds are sold with a guarantee by the state of Texas called the Permanent School Fund Guarantee. And that's a AAA rated guarantee. And that means that when we sell a bond, if we can't pay it back for some reason, the state of Texas will step in and make those payments. Now, it's not good for Alief if we were to pay our bills, but that gives the investor a good idea that they're going to get their money back, and this is a solid investment for a long period of time. So there's these pieces of paper, these bonds are certificates, and think of them like a promissory note that one large set of investors will buy the lot of these bonds on a given sale date, and then they'll turn around and market those to smaller investors. And let's say it's homeowners or taxpayers, and it could be companies, could be other banks, it could be bond funds, companies that manage bond funds will buy those from that initial buyer of those bonds. And so that they pass through multiple hands over the course of their life until they're paid off in their entirety. So in the process of processing these loan payments that we make on these bonds over time, there's a bank that's in the intermediary that takes those payments, and then it's escrowed for the bond holder upon maturity, and when they're defeased or they're cashed in. So ultimately, a bond may pass through a lot of hands, a lot of investors before the end of the life of that bond. So in Alief, we typically borrow or sell bonds, borrow money in lots of $5,000 each. So think of a bond issue such as, let's say if we're selling $20 million worth of bonds, that's $20 million worth of $5,000 actual bond certificates that are sold. Um, those can be bought up by a company and put into a bond fund, and you may own shares of a bond fund, which further break that up into pieces. But ultimately, we'll have a group of $5,000 mini loans, so to speak, with every one of those bond holders that we're saying, we're going to pay the bills, we're going to make our payments, the interest payments, that we sell the bonds on the day we sell it. There's a guaranteed interest rate that we're going to pay. And that interest rate carries through until they're either refunded or refinanced, like a refinancing your home mortgage, or unless it makes it to maturity, they're guaranteed that interest rate as part of their investment. So a bond sale is executed by the school board. Will order a bond sale, and that bond sale has to be selling a portion of bonds that were authorized by the voters of the school district. So that means that in order to even sell those bonds in the first place and order that, the school board will have to order a bond election. And in order to order a bond election, there has to be a bond referendum assembled together as a package. And that's what this committee is doing. They're assembling a package. You guys are assembling a package of needs that have been identified for a certain number of years of construction or capital improvements. We put those together in one single package of a referendum that has to go to the voters of the school district, not of Texas or of Houston or of Harris County, but of Alief ISD registered voters. Vote on that referendum. If it passes, then there's a set schedule that's assigned and communicated as part of the election of that. There will be X number of bond sales, and whether it's yearly, semi-annual, whatever the schedule is, and then a not to exceed tax increase that we say that in order to sell these bonds, we communicate to the voters up front that this will cost no more than 4 cents of increased taxes over the lifespan of the bond referendum, or whatever that number calculates to be. As long as we meet those parameters and the board calls the sale, orders the sale, then we go out and sell the bonds and basically execute a loan, like going down to a mortgage company and signing on the dotted line and making a deal with a certain set interest rate for a set period of time. We make those bond payments twice a year, in February and August, and those payments throughout the lifespan of those bonds, that's a payment we can't miss. If we do miss it, the state of Texas will back it up, but we probably won't be able to sell bonds again. So another important rating that we have as a school district is our own bond rating. So think of that as your credit rating, just like your credit rating on with Experian or TransUnion or Equifax. It's a rating that's put out by Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch and several other companies. That's what investors use to rate a seller of bonds or a company if you're buying shares of stock. And so we have to go through a rating process to come up with our underlying rating, which is a credit rating. And Alief has, in most recent years, we've been in an AA1, which is the second best rating you could have. And recently we're set to an AA2 by Moody's. And basically they hold us up against all the other public entities of our type in the country and rate us according to a similar scale, so that it's basically our ability to pay over the long term of the bonds, the loan. And the one thing that we have going on in the Houston area right now is we've got pretty stable enrollment or slightly declining enrollment. That, along with not a huge increase in new businesses, puts us at an AA2. An AA2 is still a very significant high rating in the bond rating tables. So it's third highest that you can have. It goes down into the Bs, and bottom line is the underlying rating doesn't make a huge amount of difference, but it does get us several basis points of interest, better rate on our selling of the bonds, and we get more dollars up front when we sell those bonds based on our underlying rating and the fact that behind us, the state of Texas is backing this loan. And so therefore, these bonds you're going to get your money as an investor, guaranteed by the state of Texas. And the state of Texas has the largest backing of bonds in the US. So it's a very good investment. So we're guided by Texas Education Code. There's statutes that guide the selling of bonds, the issuing of bonds, and the election thereof. So I've included this in the presentation. You can refer back to it, but everything that we're doing is guided by state law, statute, all defined in Education Code and Government Code, and election code for the terms of holding an election in the ballot. The elections in Texas now have to be joint elections. That means it has to be on a uniform election date with Harris County or City of Houston, whoever's on the ballot in May or in November. And so we'll talk about when we're going to stage this election as we go along. But the earliest we could hold this election would be November of 21, at the end of this current calendar year. Then there's IRS rules that guide us on the selling of bonds. Are sold as either taxable or tax exempt. And that means the buyer, the purchaser of those bonds, pays tax on the earnings, or they don't pay tax. And that's a very important point to know on which type of bond we're selling, because we have to meet certain levels of requirements in order to sell a tax exempt bond. And that's generally what most school districts sell, and that's what we sell, are tax exempt. The only time we'll sell a taxable would be if we had a government program from the federal government that was assisting us in paying part of the interest. So generally speaking, we're going to be selling tax exempt bonds, which are another reason why purchasers want to make that investment or loan us the money so that we can sell those bonds at a discounted rate. So next, excuse me.
I think that's it, Charles.
All right, so hopefully didn't bore you to death on bonds. That's the term of a bond.
That was good information. Thank you. Just kind of a review on some facility and capital expenditures. Right there, this is a great picture of our most recent facility, the Center for Talent Development. It is just finished and completed in December of 2020, and it's part of the 2015 bond referendum projects. It's located at 14411 Westheimer Road, just east of the Westheimer and Highway 6 intersection. Many of you may have remembered it as the old Burlington Factory building, but we're very proud of this. It's pretty much, this is a rendition. We do need the signage on the front. That's the only thing that's missing, but it's a beautiful building. If you're ever in that area, just drive in the parking lot. But it's started out as the multi-purpose center because it will provide multiple purposes for the district, but mostly it'll be used for professional development for staff. But Very impressive. So every year, the business department, we develop a long-range plan for the district to be presented to the board and approved. And part of that plan is a facilities and capital expenditures plan that just kind of ensures that we have the facilities and the support to support the district goals and objectives. So analyzing ongoing construction projects and capital improvement projects. You know, Mr. Woods talked a lot about our bond referendums. I just kind of want to refresh the committee of some previous referendums. In 1998, we had a bond referendum for $149.6 million, which involved new construction. Some highlights there were Taylor High School and Budewig Intermediate, and of course some major renovations at several of our campuses, and of course capital improvement projects involving roof replacements and carpet and parking lots, HVAC projects, and ongoing. And in 2003, the community voted in favor of a bond for $175 million, which also included new construction of Horn Elementary, Homecrest Elementary, our 8 classroom additions that are at several of our campuses, and other major renovations at the admin building and Crump Stadium, along with capital improvement projects. And then in 2015, the 2015 bond referendum was voted on and approved by the community. And I know Karen just said she was very proud of serving on that committee. And I wasn't in my role at the time. I was still at LSIC, but I came in 2016 and was able to be a part of the implementation of the bond, of all the projects and so on. And this bond passed for $341 million and included many projects, new construction projects. It included, of course, our Center for Advanced Careers that we're very proud of, included 6 middle school additions to our campuses. It included an Outley addition, the Kerr addition to Kerr. It also included more, adding more secure safety security vessels at our campuses. So an array of projects that were funded by this bond. And also, as I said, the upcoming pre-K centers, pre-K Center 1, that is located pretty much on the Horn, next to Horn, just north of Horn, off of Boone Loop. So we're looking to break ground probably in February, very soon. And then our pre-K center number 2, which is going to be located at the corner of Bel Air and Sugar Land Howe. Both of these facilities are state-of-the-art facilities. And we just can't wait to begin to market them and move forward. As Mr. Chambers kind of alluded earlier on, that we are in our last year of our bond. You know, we're going to be selling bonds this year to fund the last few projects that we have, and including capital expenditures. So this is where we are, and this is why we're here, because you know, in the last bond, I believe in 2014. It was identified in the long-range plan that there were necessary capital improvement projects that we needed to get done through 2028. However, the 2015 bond referendum only went through 2021. So there are, you know, capital improvement projects that are necessary in order for, basically us to function through 2028. So, all path leads to here, starting with these minimal capital improvement projects that are necessary. So just kind of want to highlight this chart here to show you that this is basically where we are today. And that we're at the end of the bond, or the final year of the bond. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over now to Deanna Wentz, our Assistant Superintendent of Finance, to discuss a little bit about debt service.
Hi, good evening, committee. Just a few facts we wanted to share at the onset of this project. You will hear from me throughout the process as we are analyzing and evaluating the financial impact of the decisions that the committee is making on the district. We are starting out in a relatively good position. You see the small yellow bar there shows that we have a much lower debt burden currently than many of our neighboring districts. That is partially due to the fact that we don't stretch out our debt service payments over a long period of time. We repay our debt over a 20-year time period, which is relatively low. That results in our ability to repay about 66% of our outstanding debt that's issued right now within the next 10 years. That's well above the state average of 44%. So moving on to the next slide. Hilda, thank you. My main role in this process, as I said, is to help the committee evaluate the impact on our taxpayers as we make decisions about how much debt that we can afford to issue each year. So work a lot on the structure of that chart that Hilda was showing a few minutes ago. Once we decide on all the projects that need to be done within the time period of this new referendum, we break them out into annual installments in order to try to minimize the tax impact as much as possible. So the district's tax rate is broken into two pieces. The big green bar on the chart is our M&O, maintenance and operations, or the portion of our tax rate that funds our general operations. The smaller piece, the blue bar, is our INS, interest in sinking, or debt service fund tax rate. When we initially, back in 2015, started the process of that new referendum, our tax rate on the debt service side was 15.5 cents. So we provided the committee with estimates of how much that rate would increase each year to fund the debt to build the projects that were approved by the voters. At that point, we were anticipating a total impact of 8.5 cents, and that our tax rate at the conclusion of this referendum would be 24 cents. We've done better than that, which is exactly the position that we want to be in, to be able to report back to our taxpayers. We estimated the impact of the 2015 referendum was going to be an 8.5 cent tax increase. Right now, we're projecting it at 5.5 cents. So for 2021, our current adopted tax rate is 20.5 cents. So that is a 5-penny increase so far. We're projecting additional half-penny for 21-22. However, that rate won't be adopted by our board until August of 21. So that's still a projection at this point. And then finally, those on the committee in 2015 probably recall we spent a lot of time talking about the funding formulas from the state that provided support for our debt service payments. We no longer receive support from the state. All of the payments for our debt service come from our taxpayers. That's because of the way the formulas are structured. As your property value increases, the amount of support you receive from the state decreases. So in no way are we a property rich district at this point. It's just a fairly low threshold of where the state will provide that funding. So in 2015-16, the last kickoff of the last referendum, the state was picking up about 18% of the tab. We don't anticipate state funding will cover any of the debt issued in this next referendum unless the legislature changes the funding formulas. So at this point, we won't be talking about state funding for debt service payments or factoring that into our projections at all. And you'll hear more from me as we move through this process when it comes to developing these types of estimates for this new bond. But that's it for tonight.
Thank you, Deanna. Coming to kind of the conclusion, but wanted to kind of highlight again the purpose, and I know Mr. Chambers reviewed that earlier. So we do, as a bond committee, our purpose is to work collaboratively and to review and prioritize identified needs for capital improvement projects or other projects that, that do come out of the bond, and that we work collaboratively, and that the committee provides input to the process. The input that you provide is essential to the process, and that we do create a package and a plan to be presented to the Alief Board of Trustees for consideration by August of 2021. So that is our purpose. And as a committee, you have roles and responsibilities to the best of your ability to attend meetings and to work collaboratively and provide input. You'll gain a basic understanding, as you did tonight, about how bonds work. Also gain a basic understanding of school finance and tax rate, as you have this evening. You'll review and analyze facility assessments and transportation, technology, athletics, security, safety needs throughout the district at many of our meetings. The goal is to formulate a bond package to present to the Board of Trustees and to follow up and participate in follow-up activities that result beyond the proposal. We also want to, as a committee, commit to and uphold the laws and the regulations of the United States and Texas, and the policies and procedures and rules of Alief ISD. I think it's very important that as a committee, we commit to place the interest of the district and our community and our students above any personal or business interests of a member. As a committee, we also have basic tenets, beliefs, or principles to provide consistent and access to resources and educational opportunities, to design, construct, operate facilities in the most efficient manner with ongoing review of costs, to maximize educational opportunities while minimizing impact to taxpayers, to communicate with the community and our parents about changes to occur and follow up with the post-referendum review. It's important to communicate and stay transparent. And that, very important, that there are no conclusions that are predetermined. The process yields the conclusions, and those are our tenets. Those are our beliefs in our principles as we move through the process of this bond process. Just one last slide, kind of just going over some general timelines and some throughout this process. What we have done already and what we will continue to do is to form a bond steering committee, as we have. We have sought nominations from the Board of Trustees. We've utilized district level admin staff members and folks from our various departments, the CTE, fine arts, athletics, higher education, early childhood programs. We've utilized our parents and student advisory groups to be a part of this process, and business partners and even political representations. We will conduct a needs assessment again and review the assessment that was done in 2014. We have engaged with architects to start that process. And we will allow time between meetings to review process and inform the board after our meetings. So we will engage in other professionals as consultants, or other engineers as necessary to guide it for guidance for assessments and pricing. We will gather input from various groups of stakeholders as well. And lastly, we'll communicate to the public and remain transparent to our parents and our staff about the process throughout the bond meetings, scheduled meetings. At this time, we don't have a potential timeline. We will get that to you. We're working through that at this time. We're working with Michelle to formalize that in more detail and send that out to you as soon as we have it developed. I do at this time would like to turn it back over to Ed for some comments, and then Mr. Chambers, back to you if you have any final remarks.
So thank you very much. This was a lot of information. I know as we were trying to digest it and try to understand it, some of us more familiar with it than others, but it's an awful lot of information. So we're going to spend some time, I'm sure, dissecting this information to get everybody comfortable with the details around it. There's certain areas where we'll spend more time on for some obvious reasons. But for the most part, I just want to again thank you guys for coming tonight and giving your attention to such a very important matter. And my information will be provided. Feel free to reach out to me with any comments or any thoughts that you may have. But this is very, very important work for the present and for the future. And so we certainly thank you for your time. And we certainly look forward to you staying engaged and working through the process.
All right. So those of you who are expecting to build some buildings tonight, sorry to disappoint you. I know some of you came to this meeting going, I'm ready to build something. I want to do something. I assure you that as we get started in the next meeting, going forward, there will be a lot more of that interaction. This was, as Ed mentioned, this was just a lot of information. There will be no test, there will be no exam over it, but it is important, and I want to state the obvious that Hilda mentioned this earlier. To have an idea where you're going, you need to be pretty sure where you're coming from, and we wanted to give you some historical data, but as well as some real data that's going to be driving some of the decisions that are some of the information we're going to be sharing with you as you make decisions as a committee. I'd like for you to remember one term as we move forward. And a lot of times districts will allow construction to drive instruction. In other words, there's a lot of times districts will build buildings and then try to figure out how to make the teaching and learning work within that building. And I look at it 180 degrees opposite. I want us to look at this as an instruction driving construction. In other words, we identify what and how and where we want to educate our children. We want to identify how we want to allow our staff to be properly trained and then we design a building to meet those needs, as opposed to trying to force fit some instructional process or program into something based on four walls. Now, I say that fully recognizing that we have a bunch of schools now that are old, as you saw. And so we are doing the opposite of what I just said, but I'm hoping that this committee, as we move forward, we're looking at existing facilities and we're asking ourselves, can we provide the proper education that a child who's going to grow up in our century, are we providing that? Are we providing the facilities, the brick, the mortar, the programs, et cetera? Are we providing them that? And if not, what can we do about it? And so this idea of what's going to drive our thinking, I would like to suggest that we kind of use an instruction driving construction mindset as we go through this. I know there was a couple of questions asked earlier about, will this information be available? Yes, we're gonna, if it isn't already created, our public relations team is creating a web page specifically for this group, this committee, where everything will obviously be included, all PowerPoints, all documentation, all the chat box will be recorded, and all the questions and answers that are provided. I know that I texted Craig and asked him, I said, let's don't introduce all the administrators on this call, on this meeting. But I promise you, most of them introduce themselves in chat by name and by what they do. I assure you, you will have an opportunity to put a name with a face over the course of this process. But I will tell you, I am honored, and you will be proud as well as you get to know these men and women that support our kids in our school district. I can't think, and I'm serious. I'm dead serious when I say this. This is a great assembly of men and women who have dedicated their professional lives to our kids, to your kids, to the kids that we're all working towards. So you've got a lot of people on this call, in this meeting right now that are standing ready to support in any way they can. With that, Craig, if there's nothing else, or Charles or Miss Montgomery, if there's nothing else, here's my goal. My goal, let me look at this real quick. All right. We had 80 people at one time. We're down to 78 and it fluctuated. So we may have had people coming in and out. And my goal is on our next meeting is that we have 80 people. I need for you, for every one of you, to the best of your ability. And I understand, we all understand life happens and sometimes you can't make it. I totally get it. But to the extent you can, in order for this for you to benefit from this, and in order for us to benefit from you and your expertise and your knowledge, I'm going to respectfully request everyone show up. And it's easy. It's a lot easier doing it this way in terms of showing up. It's a lot more difficult to kind of get the nuances of people. And Michelle will tell you, when she starts facilitating, she likes to see people's faces and body language. And if something is said and she looks at someone and they're either clapping or frowning, or we learn a lot. We learn a lot. And I think most of us who live our lives working with people like educators, one thing the COVID has done is it's taken away our skill sets of reading people and trying to figure out how to address something, even if they don't say it, because 99% of the people don't say things when they're frustrated, but they show it. So I'm going to ask us to all overcome that, and please have your voice heard. Have your voice heard. That's the only rule I've got is have your voice heard. And if as I mentioned to begin with, we want other points of view. Yes, we're gonna, as an administration, we're gonna share a lot of information with you. We're gonna share our opinions, but we need yours. And if there's something that you want or you think is important for us to hear, we need to hear it. I'm asking you for that commitment. So with that, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank, in particular, Ms. Winkler and Dr. Hanson, longtime supporters of our district and longtime servants of our district as a trustee. And they were both on the board when the last bond election was passed, and they know how critical the role that this committee plays, and they also know how important it is for the current board to get a recommendation that is well thought out and for the most part supported by the general community. But I want to thank everyone. I'll thank our partners at Houston Community College. Listen, the reason they're in this meeting is because we're preparing many of our students for the next level of education. And Houston Community College is where a lot of our children go. But we'll include four-year universities and workforce development. Last 2015's committee spent a lot of time on that. A lot of time on what do we do for our children, for those kiddos who just for whatever reason don't want to go to college or don't need to go to college. How can we provide them a meaningful experience so they graduate high school ready to introduce themselves into a real workforce or the armed services? So those are the types of individuals we want on this committee. We want forward-thinking people, and you'll be provided their input as well as we move forward. So with that, thanks for hanging in there. I know I told you I wasn't going to talk again, but I can't help myself sometimes. But it's an honor to serve in this role in this district. I say that all the time, and it'll be an honor to work next side by side with you guys as we go spend the next year together. All right, Craig, thank you guys. You'll get information. You'll hear from Craig. Don't block Craig's email.
Thank you. We'll be communicating very soon about our next meeting in February.
February 4th, is that correct?
Yes, sir. February 4th, same bat time, same bat channel.
There you go.